Hi everyone, nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we are going to be looking at Luscious pigment powders. So we're going to go back to basics and I'm going to show you a few quick techniques of how you can actually use it. And these are some of the effects that you can get, just a small selection of how you can actually use it. So I'm going to show you all these lovely things that you can actually do with it. So what is it? Luscious is a powder. It's actually a pigment powder, and it's a pigment powder, excuse me, that we've put a few things in. We have pigment in here. We have mica powders, which are the sparkly ones. We have sometimes the duotone, so we'll put in different colours, so depending on how the light hits it, it will actually look different. So we also put lots of little bits of magic in it as well, because it is just amazing. It's a fabulous product. People absolutely love it. We have so many beautiful colours to choose from. You know, these are just a few. Then we have some of these, lots of metallics, and then we have the blues and greens as well. There are just loads to choose from. Alfie, do you know how many colours we've got?
68.
68 colours. That's amazing. So, and they are just truly wonderful. And the reason why I call them Luscious is that's exactly what you think when you actually get to use them. They are just really beautiful. And because they're a powder, you can mix them with lots and lots of different things. So I'm going to show you some of the things that you can actually use them with. So, and instead of just saying, oh, you can use them with this, that and the other, I'm actually going to demonstrate them for you tonight. Okay, so the first thing I would say is that people like to use them as a watercolour. So that's really easy to do. So let me just bring on a little palette for me to use. Let me go with this. So you can actually use, let me just see, green apple. Yeah. And I think I've got a hole here for, oh, there's coral, so I'll do coral. Okay, so you can use an old plate. You could use a proper palette. You can use whatever you like to mix these. And we're just going to mix them with water. So we're just going to take our brush. We're going to dip it in water. And then we're going to dip this wet brush straight into the powder. It's not going to harm it, don't worry. If you get any lumps, we'll work them out. And then put them onto either your paint mat or your palette. And then slowly just add a little bit of water and mix that in. And then you want to just add a little bit more Luscious. And then a little bit more water. Isn't that just gorgeous? And you can actually mix this to whatever consistency you like. If you're colouring in, I personally like it to be sort of a nice creamy consistency. It's sort of like we would call that single cream, maybe even more towards the double cream. So that's like a nice thick pouring cream, because too thin and you're not going to see the colour and the sparkle, too thick and it's not going to, you know, flow nicely. So this is coral that I'm mixing here. So this coral has got quite a few different colours in, and you can probably see the gold coming through as well as those lovely coral colours also. So there we are with our coral. And then I'm going to mix up a little bit of green apple. So again, just the same with this. I'm going to clean my brush. Make sure you start off with clean water as well, because sometimes I'm doing projects and I might be painting or gessoing, and you don't want to be using the same dirty water when you're actually mixing your Luscious, because if you're using dirty water that's had paint in or gesso, that's going to coat all the molecules of the Luscious and it's going to dull it down, and you don't want that. So just start off with a clean, fresh jar of water. I always have about 4 jars of water on my studio desk because my sink is not in here. And so I always like to have plenty of fresh water to clean my brushes. So there we go, really super easy. Just mix it in with water. So this is really good for colouring in, putting in highlights in your work, but just remember that it is not permanent because it is just mixed with water. Of course it does have a binder in, so it is going to stick to your project, but it could be re-wet and then reworked, which may be a property that you really want from that. So I'm just going to move these over here a fraction. There we go. And I've got another palette here as well. Trying to get all of that in so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so a lot of people like to colour in with these. So let me get a smaller brush. What I've done here is I've stamped an image onto, this is watercolour card. This is our indigo blue watercolour card. So it's really nice to work with. And when I've stamped it, I've actually embossed it with some super fine embossing powder. In fact, you know what? Because we're doing the beginners, I'll just grab a stamp and then I can show you exactly what I mean. So what have I got here? The first stamp I could get hold of, which is the Sunflower Mandala by Janine Gerard Shaw, which is beautiful. Our stamps come on already cut out on a cling mount. So this cling mount just clings to an acrylic block. You can get these again on our website. They're called Thin Lizzies, so they're nice and thin, ready to hold. I'm just going to get a piece of watercolour card, and I like using VersaFine ink pads because they just are the greatest ink in my personal opinion. So I use the VersaFine Claire for the coloured ones, which are gorgeous, and I use just black with the VersaFine Onyx Black. So then what you do is you just hover it over the top for where you're going to place it, press it down, keeping one hand on it at all times so that you get a good impression. I use the heel of my hand rather than my fingers because then you do get a nice strong image. There we go, that's beautiful. And before it dries, we're actually going to put this powder on it, and this powder is going to stick to the ink, and we're going to take off all the excess, and you can see that the powder is sticking to the ink there. So I'm just going to put the rest of that powder back in here. So this is heat reactive, this powder. This is called embossing powder and it's heat reactive. So when you heat it, it melts. It's like a type of plastic. All right, so because it's stuck to the ink, now when we heat it, that's going to melt. So you can see that it changes straight away. Oh! You're going to burn your finger. Do that again, Alfie.
No, it's just...
You could melt your finger. You'll have to spot that because we've both got one. Look, I've got one as well. Na 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 na. Thanks, Janine. From Edinburgh. Love you, girl. So now this has got like all of the lines have got this sort of plastic coating, and this is perfect for colouring in because it means that I can be really messy with my colouring in. What should I go for? Let's go for what we've got here. We've got a blue, I think this is blue at the top here, and we've got a Hansel, which I think is, there it is. So this is Hansel. This is a gorgeous blue. So the lovely thing about this as well is that, you missed that, I pointed there. Mm-hmm. Lovely thing about this is because when you mix it with water, it will dry out and the water will evaporate eventually, and you're left with a solid cake of Luscious. So the great thing is that you can reconstitute it just by adding water to it. So all of a sudden you've got this beautiful palette of really high quality pigments mixed with the mica powders, mixed with that binder, so that now you've got a whole range of beautiful paints to use. So I'm just going to paint over the lines. I don't have to worry about the lines because that embossing powder is stopping it from going over the lines. It's going to sort of resist that watercolour. Can you see how it's going to pull away now from that watercolour? I'm just adding more water to my Luscious and mixing that in with a brush until it becomes nice and creamy. You don't want it too thin because then you don't see that gorgeous colour, and too thick it will start to cover all the black lines, so you don't want that either. You want to be able to see that line work. And I'm just going to use a small brush just to cover this area here, and you can see how gorgeous that is. You can see the silver in the blue, you can see different colours depending on the light hitting it, but also you can take like a darker blue or another colour and you can actually go over the top of that and just have a little bit of another colour going in. Bless you.
Thank you.
Got your hay fever?
Yeah.
I won't ask if you had your pill today.
I did.
You did? Mm. So you can just blend that in, and it blends beautifully because of course if you put a wet brush over the top of it again, it's going to reactivate underneath. So it's really, really easy to blend, which is so nice. And you can see the light catching that as well. And it's really, really beautiful to colour things in. So you can see I just did this before we went on air.
Mr. Campbell has joined us.
Hi Ian. Hi darling. So Ian is one of our designers, very, very talented young man, and he does the most amazing engineered steampunk inventions as well. So Ian Campbell, has he got a website? I'm sure he has.
Vern Industries.
Vern Industries, there you go. Of course it's Vern Industries. Yeah, check out his website. It's just awesome.
Mike says young.
At heart, maybe I should say. Hi Mike. So Mike Deakin is also another of our designers. Again, very, very talented artist. And you can check out his at Mike Deakin Art as well. But not just yet. Not just yet. No, don't go yet. No, you're not allowed. No, you've got to stay here for a little bit.
You can use the discount code.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is Lush25.
Oh, there you go. That was sneakily put in, Alfie. Go and tell them what did they get for that?
Well, that's 25% off any Luscious. So they could buy them all, and effectively they'd save 25% of 68. So you get a quarter of them free.
Wow.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah. The more you
spend, the more you save. Haven't had a drink yet, have you?
I know. I'm just laughing
because you get 17 pots for free. It took me a while because it's late in the day, but
you get 17 pots for free. Amazing.
If you buy 68.
How many do you want to buy? 68.
At least. Yep. Well, I'll probably buy a set for a friend.
You've got to love him, haven't you? You've got to love him. What would we do without your sales spiel, Alfie? We wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage, that's what.
No, exactly. How long's the code valid? Avril's asked. We've got it valid until next Wednesday.
Oh, that's good.
But they might run out before then.
Yeah, some of the colours are limited, so you've got to be quick. Yeah. So what am I doing here? I am going over, so this was originally underneath some of our grey board, which is under the Woodology range, and I have actually previously coloured it all in, but I'm just putting some extra on the top here, so you can easily go over the top of some of our gilding wax or gilding gum, which I'm going to show you later. Let me just put a dab of raspberry on the top of that, just to give it a bit of a zing as well, bit of a night. So you can see that you can just paint it on, dab it on.
Ooh, Avril hasn't got any Luscious yet.
Oh, Avril, you are in for a treat when that comes and you start playing with it.
She hasn't bought any yet.
So
she's just looking.
She's just looking. Oh well, she will. She will. So you can go over the top of that. I've actually painted the whole of my box as well. I know it's out of focus because it's too close to the camera, but it's a big box, so I can't actually do much about that. So the lovely thing is that with the binder, it will actually go over metal. This one is resin. There's a shell there. That's metal. This is a bit of plastic there, so it goes over everything. It's a good binder, so it'll stick to different surfaces, but remember that you can rework it. Okay, if you want it to be permanent, we're going to talk about our gilding gum. All right,
so Susan's arrived a little late and says apologies, arrived a little late. Are these powders or paints?
These are powders. Okay, so you can make them into paints. So that's the beauty of powders, is that you can mix them with lots of different things to make lots of different products, and that's what I'm doing tonight. So you can catch up on the first bit, how we make the watercolour paints afterwards. So this one here, this I've actually done again with the Luscious, and the gold on top is the gilding gum. So I'm going to show you that next. So let me just pop these to one side. So the gilding gum is, you're going to get this lovely shiny area as well, but it's permanent. Once it's dry, it's permanent. You don't have to buff it up, you don't have to polish it, nothing like that at all. So let me just get my box of gilding gum out. So you can see that the colours that you get are, again, fantastic, depending on which colours that you've bought. Now, instead of mixing it with water, we're actually going to mix it with our special gilding gum. Why is that? Well, we decided we really wanted to do gilding waxes a few years ago, and I didn't want to introduce a whole range of products that was only a one-trick pony. And I thought, surely I can make gilding gum out of our Luscious, because this is the basis for so many things. It's pigment powder, it's mica powders. You know, surely we could actually make it into a gilding wax. So we came up with the help of our friends, we came up with the gilding gum. Now, once it's mixed with this, it becomes permanent once it's dry. This is a good one actually to show you, because you know how gilding gum can actually dry up, or gilding wax can dry up, and then once it's dry, it's really difficult to make up. Well, this one isn't, because once you've actually mixed it up, I'm trying to find an empty pot, for goodness sake, she says frustratedly. No, can't find one. I did have one in my pocket earlier. No, it's disappeared. All right, so how do you do this? Right, I'll use this pot here. Let me just empty some Luscious out into here. There we go. Right, so I've got some Luscious in here, and then all you do is you put in some of this gilding gum and you just mix it up bit by bit. Okay, just like this. Now you can do it any consistency you like. If you want to paint with it to make a permanent paint rather than a watercolour paint, then make it really thin. If you want to use it to just use with your fingers like a gilding wax, then do it a bit thicker. If you want to stencil with it, then do it even thicker. So then you've got this lovely consistency here, and it mixes really, really well. Now remember that this is a white gilding gum, but it dries completely clear. So your colour will really come into its own once it's dry. Now, what I was saying earlier about what if it dries out, okay? What if it's stuck in a tub and you haven't used it for ages and it's got really, really thick like this? Okay, and you're thinking, how on earth is that a waste? No, it's not. All you need to do is just put a little bit, whoops, a little bit of gilding gum in there. Come here, you. And just, I should have chosen a bigger pot really, shouldn't I? It would have been a tad easier. Talk about making life difficult for myself. So you just have to mix it in until it's nice and smooth again, and then you're not wasting any of your gilding gum or your Luscious. So I'd probably mix that a little bit more just to get it nice and smooth. And again, you can put a little or a lot in depending on how you're going to use it. So at the moment that's nice and thick, so I'd probably, let me just grab what should we have? Let's grab this. Okay, let's have a little bit up here. So this is a bubble stencil, and it's nice and thick. This, it stands on its own. So I can just stencil that straight through. And that's gorgeous. Oh, and it's holding its shape as well. I'm just going to give that a quick clean, just with a rag. There we go. And that is just so lovely. But if you want to use this as a gilding wax traditionally, you can just take some either on your brush or on your finger, and just, actually blue on blue is probably not a good example, is it, Kay? Let's just find something that it will show up on.
Can it, if mixed with gilding gum, be used on fabric?
No, but you can actually mix it with Slap It On fabric. You can mix your Luscious, and we have this product which is called Slap It On fabric, and then you can put it onto fabric. All right, just the same way. So you can actually just use that like a gilding wax. So what I want to do is I just want to show you a few different colours and how differently they look on different surfaces. Okay.
Just, I think you might have to slow it, because people are going to be far more confused at the end of this than they were at the beginning if you're not careful, because it's all happening all at the same time.
Too fast. Okay, I'll slow down a bit.
So for example, Petra's just asked, can you use water?
Yes, Petra. So right at the beginning we actually just mixed up some of the Luscious powders with water to create a watercolour. Okay, so this is what I've done here. I've actually mixed them with water and put them in a palette, and then the great thing about mixing them with water is they're not permanent, so that you can reconstitute this and keep on using these. So I've ended up with, I've got about 3 or 4 palettes of these. These are the Tim Holtz palettes. We do have them on the website, or you might have one at home already, and you can actually put all your different colours in here. Also, you can mix them together as well. So if you wanted, you know, to mix a little bit of this Hansel apple green with Hansel blue, then you're going to get more of a tealy blue. So you can do that as well. So that's mixed with water. And then I've just actually mixed it with gilding gum, and what gilding gum does is this makes it permanent. So instead of it being a watercolour, this is now, when I use it and it's dry, it's going to remain permanent. So you can't actually take it back off, because this will act like it's just solid once it's on. So I've actually mixed it up with the Luscious, but I've mixed it really, really thick. So when you mix it thick, it means that you can put it through a stencil like this. But if you want to make it a little bit thinner, let's get a few different colours out. So let's have a look at, this is a purple. This is Mermaid Tresses. Well, actually, it's Mermaid Tresses Luscious. I'm sure I've got one already mixed up. This is Mermaid Tail. This is a lovely greeny gold, which is gorgeous. Let me just put that Luscious back. Let's see whether I've got, oh, there's a strawberry jam here. That's a really nice colour. Again, all of these are mixed with the gilding gum. And we've just put them in tiny little pots. We do sell loads of pots, actually. They're not expensive, are they, Alfie? I think we sell about 10 at a time. And then you've got to have a gold, haven't you? Or Bottle Sunshine, which is a lovely yellow as well. So we've got a few nice little colours there going on. And as I said, this is really quite thick, but if I wanted to make it a bit thinner so it's easier to paint with, I just put a little bit more gilding gum in with the Luscious. So I've mixed just the Luscious with the gilding gum. And this is a pot that I had lying around, but I think it's a little bit small, to be fair. I could mix it on my paint mat and then just scoop it into here.
So David said, did I miss the info about the binder? So I think it's just a case of...
Yeah, so the binder, you need a binder in all of your paints, your mediums, everything. A binder is just a generic name for a sticking agent, an agent that binds all of the pigment molecules together, and also binds it to the surface that you put it on. So that's all a binder does, and it's just a different binder depending on what sort of paint or medium that you've got, and that's all it does. So it's better than, you know, just if you buy mica powders off the internet, or it sometimes doesn't have a binder in, so you might wet it, you might paint with it, and then when it's dry it just falls off. That's why you need a binder to bind all of those pigments together and the mica together and make it stick. Okay, so I haven't used these for a few weeks. I'm just going to give them all a stir, and these are a little bit thick for what I really, really want. So
Sylvia said, what's the difference between the gum and super thick slap it on in stenciling?
That's a very good question. So the super thick slap it on, this dries clear and with a high gloss, whereas this one dries clear and this hasn't got quite as high a gloss with it. They're both permanent. This will hold its peak more than this one, so you will get a thicker stencil with this one than you will with gilding gum. Okay, so this is with gilding gum already, so you can see that as it's drying, when it dries you'll see the the sparkle in it. But the Slap It On, that will actually hold its peak even more, so you can get a really, really thick layer if you wanted. So if I just show you that, I can actually just mix both the gilding gum and I can mix the super thick Slap It On. And I'll do that after I've done this little demo here. So I've got a variety of different pieces here. So I've got, these are all fast cast resin. This is our fast cast resin, and it sets within about half an hour, 40 minutes. You can demold it. And it's got this lovely cream colour to it. This one I've actually already painted with a black metallic, which is Raven Black. This I've painted with a black gesso, and I'm going to just paint this one with a white gesso, because depending on what you have underneath will determine the sort of look of your Luscious. So this is going to have white gesso on, and then I'm going to paint the final one with
further under the camera
with clear gesso. So I've just slapped a bit on of that. Let me just get our clear. So this is now clear gesso. I'm just going to clean my brush in a separate jar. I'm not going to put that brush in with my Luscious water because I don't want it to contaminate the water there. So why clear gesso? Clear gesso is great because it retains the colour of what's underneath, but gives you that ground, that primer to your base. So especially when I'm art journaling or doing mixed media stuff and I'm doing quite a few layers, this is really good for keeping a layer as it is, retaining the colour, retaining the pattern before I go on to the next layer. So this will remain an ivory layer. So we have clear gesso, so that's now in its original state, which is ivory. This is a white gesso, so we've now got a white base to it. This is black gesso, and this is black metallic black Raven paint. Okay, and the reason why I've always gessoed them is this resin, or all of the resins, as you can see, are super smooth. So they're really slick, which means that any paint or anything you put on it really has a hard job staying on, because it's just so slippy. It might stick on for a while, or it might get knocked and then it might chip off, an hour or a year later. So I always think that if you put a layer of gesso on, it's going to create a really good grounding for anything to go over the top. Now I do actually need to just dry those off. I'll just clean my brush. Okay, there we go. And I just want to mix these in a little bit, because as I say, I haven't used these for a long time. So I just need to put a little bit of gilding gum just to reconstitute this and get it more workable for me. There we go. So it's really easy, really quick to do that, and there's no waste as well. So this is just purely Luscious and gilding gum mixed up together. And then let me just clean my spatula. And this is a lovely yellow gold. I call it Bottle Sunshine because it is like a really beautiful yellow. I have a few yellows, but this is sort of a real golden one, which is lovely. And I'm just giving this a little bit of a mix up as well. I think last time we used these was, gosh, when was it? Did we use these in Edinburgh?
Well, you did use some.
Yeah, we did use some, didn't we? There we go, just give it a good mix. It's a little bit lumpy, but yeah, that'll do. I could mix it longer. Okay, So we're ready to have a little play now. So I think I'll probably just dry those off a fraction. There we go. Okay, you can see that there. What should we start off with? Let's start off with a little bit of this teal. So I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush and I'm just going to go over the surface of this flower. The moulds I've used, by the way, are on the website. These are really nice moulds. We've got them from Prima. Took me a minute then. So this one is, I'm just going to try and remember. It's something like,
It's Fragrant Rose.
Fragrant Rose. Well done. Yeah. Oh, it wasn't from memory. You look at the website. Alf, you look like a mole. You're just squinting at the. You're just squinting at the the monitor. Have you not got your glasses? I can't lend you mine. You'd never be able to see through them. So I'm just dry brushing this, just with a few flicks, using the brush really holding it at the end and just letting it just waggle. That's the technical term. And you can see already that these are looking quite different, and we're just using, I just wanted to use the same colour over these. So it looks quite a different colour, isn't it? Even between the ivory and the white gesso and the black gesso. Really different. So what I like to do is I like to build up the colours bit by bit. So I might do a little bit of a green on here. This is actually Mermaid's Tail. Let's have a little bit of green there. A little bit here and a little bit on these leaves here. So on the black gesso you can really see that gold that's mixed in with the part of the Mermaid's Tail does have gold in it. I do put different colours together, so it's not always just a green pigment. We will add like different colours of mica and different colours of pigment, and you get this lovely colour shift with it. Okay, let's go for, haven't actually mixed this, so let's just give that a quick mix. Just trying to remember what this is. Raspberry jam, which is just gorgeous. So I really want to get in here. So this is now mixing really interestingly with those blues and teals. So I think what I'll do is I'll put it in all the little grooves. That's a gorgeous colour, I have to say. And then I'll go over the top with just hitting the surface of it. And I'll do the same with this one actually, because it's a rose. I'll just get that lovely. Now that's a completely different colour. That's really interesting how that has just, and the gesso is amazing how that creates that colour. I'm actually going to get a rag and just take some of that off before it dries, so that I get it just in the grooves. Let's see whether this is still wet. Good, that's good. So this is just in the deep grooves. And that's a lovely sort of shabby chic look, isn't it, to it? So again, this is the ivory, this is a white gesso. Now let's see what happens with the black gesso. I'm just going to clean my brush a bit actually. And just give that a dry. Doesn't matter what brush you use. Could use a stencil brush, it just so happens that I had this in my hand. So this is why I'm using this brush. Okay, so let's go with trying to get this in some of the grooves. Now look at that, this is coming out like a cherry colour because it's on top of the black. Wow, that is gorgeous. And I'm just stabbing that into all the little nooks and crannies and grooves. I'm leaving the leaves as they are. Wow, that's amazing. That's so deep. Oh, it looks really dark on camera, but it's a lot lighter. But I like the blue coming through. Let's see whether I just rag it back a little bit. Wow, that's fab. Now I've only put a little bit of blue and a little bit of green on here, so let's see what the strawberry jam has to offer. This is a little bit more fiddlier.
Fiddlier.
Fiddlier, yeah, that's a new word. Yeah. Do you like my making up of words? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because this is a lovely sort of filigree work, I would prefer it to be different colours in different areas rather than all over solid. So I'm actually going to go back to this deep sort of purpley blue colour. I'm just going to mix a little bit of that in. I'm going to come back to the lovely mermaid's tail. Do you know, I think what I'm going to have to do is do the second and third instalment of this on different nights because, as you said, I was going too fast and confusing people, which is sometimes my problem. So I've got sort of different, I still like that purple around here. And I just really like that raspberry jam mixing in with that purple. That goes really, really nicely. And then I'm going to let that dry off a little bit. Gosh, they're looking so different, aren't they? Right, so where have we got here? Do I leave it like this or do I carry on? Yes, I think I carry on. What do you reckon, Alfie? Are you still up with me? Still awake?
Yeah. It's just about yeah. Quarter to.
Gosh, how does time fly? So I'm just going to take some of this Bottle Sunshine and let's just put a little bit just on the edges there.
So Louise has asked if we sell any pre-made moulds. I've just put a link up to the moulds we have on the website.
Yeah.
But if you want to describe a few of them all.
Yeah, we've got some really beautiful new ones from Prima and from Finnabar. Those are really, really nice. We've got, and we're ordering all the time actually because we don't keep a huge stock, and we just order what we need, and when people specifically want a particular one, we'll get those specially, won't we? But they are gorgeous, and they're good value for money. You might think, oh, it's quite a big investment. Some of them are £27, but
no, £23.99.
£23.99. Oh yeah, we do them cheaper, don't we? Yeah, I have seen them about £27, but you just have to think how often you're going to use them. I use them all the time, and it's wonderful how you can make your own embellishments from them instead of, you know, spending a small fortune on buying embellishments.
Wendy wants the apothecary bottles.
You want the apothecary bottles?
I need to buy that one.
That one is very hard to get hold of. Yeah. It's been out of stock for a while. I am on the list for it. So these are looking really quite nice and quite different from these. I think that Bottle Sunshine was probably a mistake. I think I should have stayed with good. I've got a little bit of working time to take that off. Let me just move that paper and then you can really see what's going on with those. So I think we probably need something lighter. So this is a coral by the looks of it. I think it's pretty much, yeah, it must be coral. Oh, actually I think it's watermelon, looking at it now. And then I think this one probably needs something more. Should we go for grungy or should we go for pink? See, this one is still really, really soft and smooth, doesn't need mixing at all. And the lovely thing is that you can keep on layering as well. If you don't like what you've done, you know, you can just layer over the top. Oh, you see that pink on top of the blue is working really well, and I think that needs to go a little bit on here as well. Yeah. How different do these look? And I think we'll have a little bit on here as well. So, just to recap, we mixed the gilding gum with the Luscious powders, which are the pigment powders with mica in them, and we mixed them in little pots and then just applied them. Now, we had a piece of fast cast resin which comes out this lovely ivory colour, and we just used clear gesso on top of that. And this one we used white gesso. On this one we used black gesso, and on this one we used a metallic black raven, or raven black, which is gorgeous. I think the colours on there really do sing. That's why I tend to use a lot of black, but look how soft the colours are on there, and that's a real shabby chic look to that. It looks so much better than on the screen. Those are really lovely. So that is your gilding gum and Luscious, and as I said, you can mix those to whatever consistency you want. So you can paint with them, you can stencil with them, or whatever. Now, Alfie, do you think we should finish there and go on to the other techniques on another episode because it's nearly 9 o'clock, isn't it? Or should I quickly just do a slap it on thick?
Yeah, just do one more.
So these were all done with the gilding gum. That would look grey on there. And our birdie. And, oh, lovely moth as well. Okay, yeah, because I'd got all set up for resin as well, but I don't think we're going to be able to do resin. See, look at that, isn't that lovely? So all those were actually painted with black gesso first, just so that you got to know that. Righty-ho, so if I just do... Let's go over the top with this. And let's use some super thick now. And I'm going to mix that with, what should we go with? Let's go with raspberry jam because I've got some. So let's just get some raspberry jam out. And mix that with some super thick. We may be out of stock tonight, but it will be back in stock in a couple of days. We're just going to be potting it up in the next couple of days. So bear with us. You've still got the discount code till next Wednesday, so just bear with us on the super thick slap-it-on. I know there's a long line of people who've been waiting for it. I know it's been a long time coming. It's been a couple of weeks now, but it is on its way. Gosh, that's rather a lot. I think I'm going to halve that.
So Teresa asked, would the super thick keep if you mixed it in a pot?
Yeah, if you keep all the air out of it, yeah, absolutely. But I tend to use it straight away. I wouldn't, to be honest, I wouldn't want to risk wasting it. So I only mix up what I need. And if I've got too much, I just grab another tag or something and just do some more stenciling on that. So what have I done here? I've just mixed in, because I've got quite a lot, I've mixed in some mermaid tresses, which is a lovely blue colour. So I'm hoping I should get a nice sort of violet colour, which I am actually. That's just gorgeous. So that's mermaid tresses mixed in with raspberry jam. So I'm going to go over the top of this, and I think I'm going to do a bit of raspberry jam around here. And then I'm going to come in with some, what's this one called? Mermaid tresses. And I don't want a hard line, so yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? So that will dry clear. The super thick will dry clear. So when it's clear, it will really bring out the colour of my Luscious. As I said, when I've got too much, I usually have a tag at the ready that's been gessoed, luckily. And I think rather than stenciling, I'm just going to put a little bit of colour on here for another day, so there's no waste. There we go. Okay, so that is our first lesson on Luscious. So hopefully I didn't go too fast, and I will be showing you how to add them to diamond resin, vivids, and lots of other gorgeous techniques in the future, as well as using them in moulds. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to email those in, or come and join us next week, next Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and get your questions at the ready. All right. Hopefully you'll be able to enjoy playing with them in the meantime. Thanks ever so much for watching, and if you're watching on YouTube, it would really be great if you gave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more, just hit the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you ever so much, and take care. Say goodnight, Alfie.
Good night, Alfie.
Bye.